Hello everyone, I'm Dante from Low Manor, and welcome to the final installment of the Dark Nexus arc of comics for Heroes of the Storm, Orphea. The capstone to the first story within the Nexus itself, culminating in the introduction of the first Nexus-specific hero of the same name. Just like the last time, before we jump into the new comic, I'll summarise the conclusion of the previous one, as it's been several weeks since then. Last time we left the Nexus at the culmination of the Battle of Dragonshire. The Dragon Knight had been released from its curse by his children, the Sun and the Moon. To their surprise, the Ravenlord was anticipating this move and used the power of the Dark Nexus against him, corrupting the Dragon Knight into an abomination. The conflict eventually makes its way to the throne room, where the Queen of Thorns arrives too late to rescue her children, but in time to slay her husband, the Dragon Knight, and save the remainder of the civilians. In her weakened state, the Queen of Thorns was no match for the Ravenlord, who disarmed her, stole the power of her singularity, leaving her to face their family's curse without the power to resist it. Orphea witnessed everything from the shadows, finally seeing that she must stand up against her father. We last saw her stepping out into the world as a new hero headed to confront the Ravenlord as others retreated. The comic opens with a flashback to the last time Orphea was at the Ravenlord's tower, her home, where she grew up and ultimately escaped. The last time she was here was before the Dark Nexus had been released, but even back then, her father had been showing signs of a more sinister path. Now she stands before the gates once more. Her home, now a desolate place, not even the guards stand watch. As she walks through the halls, reminded of her childhood, her mother, and how her father forced her out of her home, leaving Orphea alone with him. Eventually she finds herself walking down into the catacombs below, the Raven's eyes tracking her movements as she treads further into the now dark halls. When she hears a familiar voice, a cry for help. No, not help. A warning. It's not just the Raven's spies that have been watching Orphea, but the being of the Dark Nexus, Dehaka. A brief fight breaks out. As Orphea attempts to run away, she's caught by Dehaka's drag, almost losing her arm before summoning her powers and blasting Dehaka into a burning husk. She walks away, but not without a scratch. Fortunately, that voice she had heard as a warning was a familiar one, Neve. We last saw her as the Ravenlord's primary aide, helping him reign over the kingdom. Now, with the power of the Dark Nexus and the corruption it imparts, he no longer has a need for her. At least, he didn't dispose of her entirely. Otherwise, the Nexus might be facing an altogether darker fate. Neve, as she has done before, tends to the wounds of Orphea, in the process discovering a mysterious item that Orphea has for some reason been hiding, a shard of corruption. We learn that Orphea has tried to destroy it several times, but her power is not enough. Again, Neve has a solution. It's clear why she has been an advisor for so many years. Her wisdom results in an epiphany for Orphea, that not everything can just be destroyed. Sometimes the most destructive evil can only be destroyed by itself. There is also one specific line I wanted to go back to here. When talking about the Ravenlord and his violent turn, Neve makes a very specific inflection. Someone wounded him, and now he's become violent. This is clearly targeted towards Orphea herself, implying that her abandoning Ravenscrest is what led to the Ravenlord snapping and turning to a great evil to resolve what he saw as an ever-increasing threat, ignoring the advice of Neve. Yet we know Orphea left due to the actions of her father. He had a very specific vision for her, to take his side in overwhelming the other kingdoms. Perhaps Neve believes he could have been stopped, before any of this war, if Orphea had stayed and persuaded him otherwise. I guess we'll never know. Neve has far greater insight into the Ravenlord than anyone else, so maybe she's right. Any chance for the Ravenlord to achieve redemption seems lost at this point. Orphea might be the closest he'll get in the long run. With her wounds patched up, and an unexpectedly fresh new perspective, Orphea heads to face her father, but, more importantly, to remove the corruption he has wrought upon her home. As she progresses to what appears to be a giant crypt, containing the remains of their entire ancestry, having succumbed entirely to the corruption of the Dark Nexus, the floor fallen, leaving more of a pit, the walls broken, leaving a giant opening out into the realm. In the distance, the Ravenlord looks upon his new realm, as if waiting for Orphea's return. While the most important feature sits within the center, a glowing red singularity, beaming into the sky. This is clearly the Dark Nexus, the source of all the Ravenlord's newfound powers. I think this is also the singularity of the entire Ravenlord's realm, meaning, as far as we know, this is the most powerful singularity in existence. The consequences of the events about to unfold will forever change the Nexus. With Orphea making her way to the center, her father turns to face her, lamenting on his disappointment before attacking. Another lengthy fight breaks out, the Ravenlord's power clearly outmatching that of Orphea's. Fortunately, her plan was never to defeat him head-on. With the protection of her ancestry, particularly in this place, she was able to push back his assaults, edging closer to her true goal, the singularity. She might not be able to kill her father or destroy the source of the corruption herself, but maybe it could consume itself. Sacrificing much of her ancestral power through consuming their remains, she managed to create a large enough window to strike the singularity with the shard of corruption that she had acquired, fracturing its shell and breaking it wide open, not before being pierced by one final strike from her father, cutting right through her shoulder. The plan had worked. With the singularity shattering, it opened a rift. And though she couldn't kill her father, she could take this opportunity to banish him, sending him straight through to the Dark Nexus itself, sealed shut by destroying its anchor within our Nexus. With the Ravenlord gone, and the corruption cleansed, the singularity was restored, luckily not destroyed itself. Though much damage had been caused, many lives lost, entire kingdoms overthrown, the Nexus can begin to return to normal, back to its relatively petty squabbles for power amongst the lords. Orphea now, the rightful heir to the Ravenlord title, now has a choice to make. Will she become the new lord? And how will she rule? How can she begin to repair the damage her family has brought upon their lands? For now, rest is in order. Neve still stands by her side, as she did for her father. Their fight is not over. For Orphea, it's only just begun. I'm curious if we'll ever find out exactly what that crystal she held was, or where she found it, or possibly even stole it. I've not seen anyone really talking about the theories for it, but I've got a couple of my own. One being rather generic, that it's just a shard of the Dark Nexus, taken from her confrontations with them, possibly even stolen from her father, Oberon, before she left. The second is a bit more out there. Evil shards certainly aren't something new to Blizzard. One of their franchises in particular is based almost entirely on them. What if this wasn't a shard, but a soulstone? Another greater evil that cannot be destroyed by traditional means. This level of evil and corruption would surely be able to match that of the Dark Nexus. But for a soulstone to have corrupting power, it needs to hold one of the Lords of Hell. So did she just release one into the world of the Nexus? Or has she just sent one over to the Dark Nexus, along with her father? If we are to get a new range of comics to continue this story, perhaps one day we'll find out. I'd love to know your weird theories and thoughts on the comics in general. As always, let me know in the comment section below. Also, if you've been playing Orphea in-game, what do you think of the first Nexus origin hero? And do you think we'll be seeing more? Thanks for watching this video. If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a like. Let me know of your thoughts of both the comic and this video in the description below. You can support the channel by subscribing and using the bell to be notified of future content as it goes live. Until next time, I've been Dante, thanks for watching.